Hello and welcome to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Birmingham's The Assist, one of the most exciting bands around on the new music scene. Over the course of today's podcast, we're going to talk about the band's debut album Council Pop, their upcoming 3-date tour, supporting indie legends The Rifles, and their new acoustic album, or EP I should say, Council Pop Unplugged. Mikey, thanks very much for coming on the This is the Music Meets podcast. How are you doing today?
Not a problem at all, mate. I'm really good, thanks. I've had the morning to chill out. I'm looking forward to speaking to yourself, talking all things music, really.
Great stuff, and never a bad thing as well to have a little bit of time to yourself and chilling out away from the stresses of work and all that sort of stuff. So kind of like then we're going to go back to sort of like last year, obviously with the release of the album Council Pop, which was fantastically well received, across the board, I think it's fair to say. Obviously it's been sort of 7 years in the making for you guys. Sort of looking back on like sort of like the recording and obviously getting it released and obviously like the reaction to it as well, do you kind of like still pinch yourself that you've actually managed to get to that point of releasing an album?
Yeah, massively. I think a lot of bands will tell you the same thing. Like, it's difficult to manage personalities in a band. It's difficult to all put in the level of commitment that's required. So for us, it was an achievement in itself just to be able to do the record, produce the record, and then obviously afterwards to be able to market it the way that we wanted to, with the video releases, playing shows in and around the release of the album. It was a tremendous effort from all involved within the band, and people outside of the band as well. We've got a great family, whether that's people working with us with regards to media, whether that's friends that continue to be at the shows. Just a real great effort from all involved, really. And you're right, I do have to pinch myself on a daily basis. I've actually got the record myself on my mantelpiece at home, so it's something that I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, I can't say I blame you, to be honest. And I'd say it's a fantastic album. And obviously it managed to reach number 9 in the independent charts, and obviously number 35 as well in the album chart. So kind of like when you got the news through that had come through, what was the reaction like? I mean, I can imagine maybe it was sort of like a big old party.
Yeah, it was incredible. At the time, I wasn't with the band. We're sort of all just liaising with each other, sending each other messages and whatnot. And we actually agreed as a band that we'd get together and just celebrate, really, because it was a massive achievement for us. Numbers are nothing really that we ever sort of want to measure our success by. But we was happy with just having produced the album, and then anything afterwards really was a bonus. So it was a real sort of pinch yourself moment, and it was great to get together and just celebrate that.
Yeah, definitely. And have you kind of like got a personal favourite song from the album, one that maybe means like a little bit more to you than the others? I mean, it is pretty difficult, to be fair, I can imagine. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a tough one, really. Water means a lot to me, just because of the message that it breaches. And it's a very sort of in your face, get up and listen to what we have to say. But sentimentally, I'd probably say Numb is certainly up there. Numb's a real favourite of mine. And again, what that means to me, just sort of going through grief at certain times in your life. And I hope that really people have their own interpretations of the tracks.
Yeah.
I've had some people say to me, does Numb mean this or does Numb mean that? And for me, I'll never tell people what it means, because like I say, I like for people to have their own interpretations of the tracks. But to me, yeah, it's just more so just grieving, really, and how you deal with that.
Yeah, I must admit, I agree with you there about, I think it's important for people to make up their own minds about what the song might be. So yeah, totally agree. So you've obviously just you've got coming out, Council Pop Unplugged is due for release on the 17th of February. You've got 4 tracks obviously from the album Council Pop. So kind of like a couple of questions here, really. So first of all, what was kind of like the thinking behind releasing an acoustic EP? And why have you only gone for 4 songs for it? And was it kind of like a bit of a case of, across the band that they were like, your favourite songs, or was it more because of like fan favourite type of thing? What was the main thinking behind that?
So a couple of answers to a couple of those questions. So in particular, the songs originally were written very stripped back. So I did a lot of writing with my brother Ryan,
Yeah.
and it was very much in a sort of bedroom environment. It was stripped back, maybe an acoustic guitar, a couple of chord progressions on the keyboard, and these songs really for us were the origin of Council Pop. So. For example, Daydream, it's a chord progression that we've had for over 5 or 6 years now, and we revisited it, and we made it something that little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
My Friend Drug, it is a song really that is just as effective stripped back as what it is live. I mean, a lot of these tunes, as I say, they were originally stripped back, and then you take them into an environment where you're in a full band setting in a studio, and the lads all sprinkle their own little bit of magic. So we are a guitar band at the end of the day, and it's very sort of British rock. But there are lots of other artists of which I take influence from, like composers. I love the arrangements and string sections in some of the Rifles Unplugged tracks.
Yeah.
I really took influence from those. Ludovico Einaudi, a composer, an Italian composer, he writes some fantastic pieces of music. And even some elements of classical music I really do enjoy. So I just want to explore all avenues, really. I mean, if you listen to Better Days on the record, it's almost like a Dua Lipa track. It's very electric, it's very dancey, whereas you do it on the acoustic EP and it's a lot more soft, a lot more subtle. And we just wanted to explore that avenue, really. As for the tracks themselves, Better Days means an incredible amount to us. It was sort of just me preaching what I'd learned throughout my time on Earth. And again, I'd really like to get that message across. Daydream is probably the most commercially viable track on the album. I think whether you listen to grunge, grime, or classical music, I think you can appreciate Daydream for what it is. So we felt the need to get that one out there. And then Numb and My Friend Drug, really. Again, it's the sentiment, it's the meaning of the tracks. Especially in an unplugged setting, I think people tend to sort of really focus on the vocals, and you can perhaps appreciate what's being said a little bit more as opposed to the flashing of the guitars and whatever else. But that is it's part and parcel of the game, of course.
Absolutely. And you kind of like touched it there on the first part of the answer, because obviously with the Unplugged album EP, you've obviously invited violinist Julianne Bourne to play. So kind of like, what was the experience like of doing that? I mean, and kind of like, how do you feel that it's sort of, I wouldn't say enhanced the songs, but kind of like, what do you feel that is added to the song, I guess is probably the right way of trying to put it.
Yeah, I mean, even enhanced, that's not a criticism at all, because like they are, to a degree, they're a product of their own, these songs are. And Julianne is not only a fantastic musician, but she's a fantastic woman as well. She's an amazing person. She's so talented and so down to earth too. And also, like, it was, as much as she may have seen an opportunity to work with us, we saw it as a fantastic opportunity to be able to work with her too. Honestly, and any opportunity to play with a musician that is at the level that she's at is, it's such an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
And as I say, such a fantastic woman. She really brought her own style. And as I say, she's took the tunes to a completely new level. It really was some experience working with her.
Yeah, sure. And I can just sort of say there, add on to that, obviously I've been contacting your brother, Ryan, for a little while, and I've been lucky enough to hear it. And it's fantastic. And I believe that kind of like really what you're saying there, and it's nice actually to sort of have my thoughts sort of confirmed in a way, but that you've actually done a fantastic job with, and showcasing a different side to the band. But obviously drawing in different influences as well, as you say. And I think that people are going to absolutely love it. I think they're going to be surprised, but I think that they're gonna love it as well. So,
thanks.
Oh, not a problem at all. So obviously, let's talk a little bit about like live music. You've obviously got a 3-date tour coming up in March and April, where you're playing obviously Manchester, Glasgow, and London, and I need to pull my finger out and get myself a ticket before they go. So kind of like how excited are you boys, about getting back on the road again?
Yeah, we're mega excited. I feel as though the last few shows that we did all over the country, the album perhaps hadn't been digested at that point.
Yeah.
So the album was released April the 1st, no, April the 8th, maybe. I tend to forget, it's all been a bit of a blur. But literally within 2 weeks of the album being released, we was out on the road. And I feel, yeah, exactly that. I feel as though people hadn't necessarily digested the album. It hadn't gone through the marketing campaign to its full extent. And I feel like now, people have received it incredibly well, and they're now ready to see the live shows. It was just more so for us a tick box exercise to begin with. We just needed to get back out on the road, just dust the cobwebs off, and just enjoy being a touring band again. Whereas now we feel as though we're coming around with an entirely polished show. And of course, with spending so much time together comes new music as well. So it's nice that we've been able to sort of dip our toe in the songwriting element of being in a band again. And hopefully we can drop maybe 2 or 3 tracks during our live shows this time around.
And on the live show on that tour, is that going to be like stripped back, like acoustic, or is that going to be, turn the guitars up to the max and, like a proper sort of like rock and roll sort of show type of thing?
Yeah, very, very much rock and roll. I asked far too much of the lads to turn the guitars down for this EP. I don't think I'll manage to get that again for another 12 months, mate.
Brilliant, love that. And obviously, and just sort of continuing with the live music theme, obviously, you supported indie legends, the Rifles in December, obviously Coco in Camden. And obviously, I've noticed on your social medias over the last sort of 3 or 4 days, I think it was roughly, that you've put together a couple of like a little video of two of the tracks that you played live. For someone, I've never caught you live yet before, but that's kind of like makes me want to go and watch you live because of the amount of energy that just seemed to be coming off of the 4 of you on stage. So kind of like looking back at that gig, there is a question in here eventually, I promise.
That's
kind of like what was the night like for you, and sort of like the reaction that you got back from the Rifles audience, because I think it's fair to say that their fans certainly know and love their music.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Rifles for us are such a massive influence. I can remember as a 5, 6, 7-year-old going to the football with my dad, and their records were on a weekly basis. Do you know what I mean? So a real full circle moment for us to now have said that we played with them at their hometown show. And not only that, like the venue in itself, I think like it's great to play shows, it's great to play with bands, but to be able to tick certain venues off the bucket list. I mean, Coco, I'm not sure if you've ever been, but what a fantastic venue.
Yes,
honestly, it's incredible. So just to have played that venue for me was incredibly surreal. But as I say, a very full circle moment. And it was nice for me and my brother also to sort of look back and say, wow, we used to listen to these records when we was heading to the football and whatever else. And now we're here on stage playing 20 minutes before they're due to come on stage. So it was really, really good. And as you say, their fans are such loyal fans. They really, appreciate guitar music. So, that was great for us. They really was. I mean, we wanted to go into the crowd and watch the Rifles afterwards. But at times we couldn't get a word in edgeways because we was being pestered and people saying it was great, which of course we loved. Do you know what I mean? We wanted to hear that. And it was great to be around them, to have photos and whatever else, and just to feel the buzz for the Rifles, and also feel the buzz that new music is generating. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the aim, of course. And it was great to see that people were still open-minded in that respect. They're not only going to see the Rifles, but they're also interested to see what bands are perhaps playing half hour before, or which it keeps music alive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're saying there about the Rifles, well, they are a great set of lads, and it's great to see that they are, even after all this time, what 10, 15 years, whatever it's been now, that they are still going. And the band, again, love and need to probably go and see live again. It's been quite some time. So there's a bit of a theme occurring here at the moment. So you obviously, we've mentioned there the Rifles that you've shared a stage with them. You've obviously shared a stage as well with like the likes of Happy Mondays, the Twang, Blossoms. And you've obviously also as well completed a 6-date tour in Russia, which obviously clearly was before what's going on there at the moment. So kind of like, what has been like your favourite gig memory? Sort of looking back on those, sort of pick of the gigs type thing.
It's a big question. So I feel like I need to give you a big answer. Yeah, I mean, for me, like the whole 7 or 8 years or however long we've been together as a band has been fantastic. It's all been a little bit of a blur. But I think to begin with, we all sort of got a little bit carried away with, you know, we was hoping that at every show we played, there was labels and whatever else, and you hope to get signed. And you get a little bit caught up in the rat race in the respect that you don't necessarily get a chance to enjoy in the present. So we enter shows and we enter sort of our 12-month plan or whatever with a completely different mindset. It's just about surviving, really, especially in this industry. It can be so turbulent. It's very saturated, of course. So we just want to offer something different and have some longevity, really. So for us, if we can just keep playing shows, that's a highlight in itself. Like, I just want to be a musician. So if I can continue to keep playing music and people enjoy it, then that's amazing. So we sort of, you know, we don't take any show for granted now. But I'm very much of the mindset that I want things to be perfect when we play. Some of the lads, not so much. They're just there for a good time. Of course, they're invested in their art. Of course, they are, and they want to be successful. But I think to a degree, I may be a little bit overcautious, whereby, you know, if things aren't to the T, I struggle to enjoy the show. And these past few weeks, I've learned to loosen up a little bit. So for Isle of Wight Festival, for example, I just lived it. Like, I absolutely loved it. I thought as a show, we was fantastic. We played very well as musicians, and we was just really well received. And it's nice, especially at festivals, to have those crowds of people that come around and they are so invested in finding new artists. So people really did give us a lot of love. And of course, Coco, what a show. Do you know what I mean? What a venue. And yeah, well, it's crazy, really. You can sometimes play a show to 25, 30 people and maybe just as good as the shows that you play to 2,000 plus. Do you know what I mean? It's just being able to play music, really. But I haven't really answered your question there. So to bring it to some form of conclusion, I'd say my favourite show during our time together as a band would probably be a show we played with an artist called Rat Boy. It was at our local venue. It was at the main in the O2 Institute. He was on fire at the time. He was doing incredibly well. He'd just been signed, and yeah, that was just a fantastic night all round, really.
Sounds perfect. And you know, I think as you just said there about the like the festival side of thing, I think that's obviously a great way of, you know, sort of growing the fan base. And you know, I think you do get a lot of people that are genuinely are there for the music. You know, not just not just there for like the, you know, like the headline act or whatever they want to see as much as possible. To kind of like, as you know, here at This Is The Music, we like to shine a light on up and coming bands like The Assist. So kind of like over the past sort of 12 months, what sort of bands have you been like looking at and going, yeah, I'm really enjoying what they're doing?
Sort of new emerging artists, yeah?
Yeah, new bands on the scene, or solo artists or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so most recently, I've really enjoyed listening to a band from Manchester called Concrete Club. Yeah, I mean, with regards to new music, I do try my best to sort of listen out as much as possible, but it is difficult sometimes when you're so invested in sort of being a new musician yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you certainly come across them. I really like Overpass, and they're local to us too. They're a fantastic band. The Claws, of course, are pulling up trees. They're doing really, really well, and they're great lads too. Great lads. And obviously a band that are perhaps a little bit more established, a little bit more underground, but still very established is the Lathrams, of course. I've really enjoyed listening to them of recent, and that to me is still new, although perhaps people have beat me to the party maybe 12 or 15 months ago, but they're a band that I'm really enjoying listening to at the moment.
Yeah, there's some great bands that you've mentioned there, and I think what's today? And I think as you say, you know, it's great to see that they are flying, and I think it's great to see as well that people are getting out and obviously getting out to their tours and all of that type of thing. So maybe a couple of like sort of quick fire questions for you now.
Yeah.
If you had a musical time machine, what era of music would you like to be transported back to?
Wow.
Or are you quite happy in the present?
I'd probably say the noughties era. So obviously bands like Hard-Fi,
Yeah,
Blur, Oasis, the Charlatans.
yeah,
I'd definitely head towards that era, I think.
yeah. Cool. Okay. So we're going to ask you now to put on a music festival.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to know is what the dream venue would be, what other bands you'd like to have on the bill with you, and also as well what's on the rider. We'll pick 3 bands plus the assist. You just need to decide what the 3 bands obviously are, plus the venue and all that, and obviously where the assists are going to fit on this festival.
Okay. We'll play Coco in Camden.
Yeah.
I've still not got over how good of a venue that was. We'll go on first. We'll go on first.
Okay.
The band can follow us. And is it entirely bands? Is it all artists in general?
Yeah, you can go for both. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure the lads would agree. So in fact, we aren't going to go on first, actually. We're going to open with Italian composer Ludovico Einaudi. I think he wouldn't really follow us well. We're a little bit sort of in your face, whereas he's very subtle. It's just him, his keyboard, his string section. So I hope he isn't too offended. I'm sure he won't hear. But I'm going to ask Ludo to go on first, if that's okay. Then we'll follow that. We'll go on next. And who are we having afterwards? I'd have the Stone Roses on afterwards.
Big.
So we got Ludovico Einaudi, then we got the assist, then the Stone Roses. Then I would have probably the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, nice. I wasn't expecting them, I must say, but that sounds like a great gig to me. A little bit different as well in there, which I quite like actually. It's good to mix it up every now and again. And sort of continuing with the sort of the quick fire questions. What's your favourite TV show?
I don't really get time to watch TV these days. Something I've been watching of late is The Last of Us, like a zombie sort of end of the world sort of TV series. I'm enjoying that. I was watching Wednesday Addams on Netflix, which was interesting, and of course Friends is your classic background. If you're eating your tea or whatever else, stick Friends on in.
Yeah, can't go wrong. And what's your favourite sandwich filling?
Sandwich filling. I love a pork stuffing, bit of crackling, and a bit of applesauce. That's the go-to for me.
Nice. Is that on the menu today? Me? Oh, well, at a minute, I'm quite partial for a cheese and pickle sandwich, I must say.
Okay.
Yeah, love it of cheese and pickle. The problem is that I eat the cheese before I get to actually make the sandwich. So, yeah.
It's all about the ratios.
Yeah, that's it. and kind of like there as well, earlier on you mentioned about going to football. So who do you support?
I'm an Aston Villa fan.
Aston Villa, okay. So obviously,
football.
Yeah, I am. I'm another claret and blue supporter. I'm West Ham.
Okay.
Obviously, we're struggling at the moment, not having the best
Yeah, I mean,
seasons, but
it's been a strange one, really. I mean, last season you was on fire,
mhm.
um, and then this season I'm not sure what's happened. I don't know whether it's the Moyes effect. Does he tend to have a couple of years at the top and then sort of
Yeah,
peter out?
yeah. I was trying to sort of look back at where he finished when he was managing Everton, and I think there was a couple of good seasons, and then there was one that was really bad, and then he sort of built it back up again. Fingers crossed he can keep us up in the Premier League. That's got to be the main aim
Yeah,
now. And if
the
we could
mainstay.
do well in the Conference League that we're in still, then that'd be pretty good. But obviously,
Mhm.
Emery's obviously turned it around for you guys. What are like the ambitions, do you think, for the remainder of this season?
Yeah, I think he's done fantastically well. He's got everyone on side, which is a big part of football for me. No matter how much ability you've got in the team, if they aren't together, it counts for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And it's nice to see that they are all fighting for each other again. I mean, I'd be happy with top 10 this season. We invest in the summer and then think about maybe a push for top six. But I mean, it's so difficult these days with how much money and whatever else is in the game. I'm just happy to just have the chance to go down and see them every so often, and just for us to be competing in every game we play. That's I think we take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah, definitely agreed there. So, kind of like just going back then to the music. Obviously, we've mentioned Council Pop EP coming out, Council Pop Unplugged, and obviously the 3-day UK tour. What kind of like are the other plans for the rest of the year for the band?
So for the rest of the year, we have a 3-week slot penciled in the studio. We've got maybe 15 or 20 demos sort of tracked.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, as a band, really just sitting down and whittling down those tracks to see which of the 15 or 20 that we feel are the best, really.
Yeah.
Then we'll get in the studio, and once we've done that, and hopefully we'll start working towards producing a second record. And as for plans over the summer, we've got a couple of festivals lined up, of which I'm sure we'll announce over the next couple of weeks. And that was really why we was a little bit selective with the shows that we was playing this sort of springtime, because we are going to cover a lot of ground throughout the summer. We're going to be playing festivals all over the country, and it still gives people an opportunity to see us. Then, of course, with the second record, hopefully, we'll release a couple of singles towards the end of the year, which will begin that sort of domino effect, that marketing towards hopefully a second record, maybe this time next year, maybe.
Wow, great stuff. Well, it certainly sounds like it's going to be a very, very exciting sort of 12 months or so for you guys. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people, myself included, that are really delighted to hear the plans, more gigs, and obviously album potentially being recorded plus a couple of singles. It sounds like it's going to be a brilliant time, as I say. Mikey, that is the end of the This Is The Music Meets podcast. Thanks very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it and getting to know you personally, and
Not a
obviously a little
problem.
bit of the workings within the band as well. But just before you do go, can you just let the listeners know where they can find the Assist on social media?
Yeah, of course. So on all social media platforms, I forget how many there is these days. We've got Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. It's pretty much facebook.com/The Assist Band. YouTube's the same. It's pretty much just /The Assist Band on everything, really.
Great stuff, and we'll include those episode links even in the episode bio, so that everyone can give you guys a little follow and obviously check out Council Pop. That now brings me on just to say that Council Pop Unplugged is due for release on Friday, the 17th of February, and will be available across all streaming and download platforms. And all that now leaves me to say is thanks to everyone for listening to the This Is The Music Meets podcast. Thanks again for everyone to listening. Thanks to Mikey from The Assist for coming on, and we will hopefully see you at that London date in April. And if not, we'll see you somewhere else down the road.
Fantastic, mate. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks for everyone for listening to the This Is The Music Meets The Assist podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you are loving the podcast, show us some love by giving us a 5-star rating and written review, as it really does help the artists that we interview to be discovered. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you again for another This is the Music Meets podcast very soon.